Are you guys mentally challenged?
Well, 2021 is coming to an end, and with theaters slowly opening back up in most areas, we got a decent amount of movies released this year. I originally wanted to do a video about some of the best movies overall this year, but honestly I didn't see enough of them to make that list. I saw a decent amount either in theaters or renting them at home, but not enough to where I would feel confident in making a list of what I would consider the best movies. But you know what I did see all of this year? The comic book movies.
Now suck my cock.
Since I've seen all the comic book movies this year, I figured I can at least talk about those ones. And I'll talk about the ones I consider the worst and the ones I consider the best. I'll rank them in some sort of order, although I will admit I still haven't seen the Eternals, because I forgot about it. It's ironic, isn't it? I made a video saying I was actually interested in seeing it because of the low and very mixed and strange reception it was getting, but I still ended up forgetting about it. But let's be honest, I don't think it will impact my list that much, would it? Whenever I do see it, I promise I'll make a video about it. Also, I'm not going to be including any animated movies, but if I did, the winner would clearly be Injustice. Also, I'm not going to be talking about the MCU or DC shows or whatever the hell they got on Netflix and Amazon. I'm sticking to just the movies, which are as follows: Zack Snyder's Justice League, Black Widow, Venom Let There Be Carnage, ShangChi, The Suicide Squad, and Spider-Man No Way Home. With all that out of the way, let's get to it.
You think you hard, huh?
So at the bottom, we got Black Widow. Are you surprised? Didn't think so. This movie is the epitome of bland and boring. I thought it had a pretty decent opening, but then it quickly devolves into uninspired crap. It's easily a bottom tier MCU movie. It feels like it's only here to introduce Black Widow's sister because she's involved in the MCU shows. I think there was potential here. They could have done a prequel that took place even before the first Avengers movie to show what she was up to in that time. Hell, show us that Budapest mission that they constantly reference. But nah, none of that. Instead you get a movie that feels like it was just forced and pushed out, with a side story that doesn't really add much to the character. It's not terrible, but it's one of the best examples of what I mean when I say a bland MCU movie. It's a pretty safe, uninspired movie with nothing to offer. To me, I think this is easily the worst comic book movie to come out this year, so now we're going to move on to the ones I think are decent or good.
Kill yourself, Walt.
The Suicide Squad, James Gunn's first DC movie. Ever since I posted my review, I've been getting shit for not being in love with this movie like many others are. I think it's okay. Hell, it's pretty good. And there's some really good stuff here that I like the action set pieces, the cool ass visuals, and the characters are pretty decent. But what really just kills it for me are the overabundance of forced explicit jokes. I really don't find this movie funny, and that's a big problem when it's actually trying to make you laugh. So for me, several sections were just hard to get through, because I didn't find several of the gags that funny. James Gunn's raunchy, vulgar, explicit humor just isn't for me. I actually find the humor in his two Guardians of the Galaxy movies much better. There are some sexual jokes there, but it's a bit more creative, mainly because of its PG-13 rating. They had to get more creative with the way they tell the joke. And after seeing this movie 3 times now, my thoughts really haven't changed. Visually and stylistically, it's awesome, and when the action is happening, it's a lot of fun. I find the bloody, gory, over-the-top violence to be really entertaining, but the humor just really holds it back for me. It's not a bad movie by any means. It's fairly decent and pretty good.
It doesn't matter how old I am. Come on, it's not like anyone's gonna see us.
Venom Let There Be Carnage. Now after seeing this movie twice, I will say my opinions have changed slightly. I still find the movie entertaining as hell. It leans more into the Eddie and Venom relationship and cranks it up to 11, which was the best thing about the first Venom. And it has a consistent, semi-goofy tone that makes it feel like an early 2000s comic book movie. And it just goes with it, and that's why in terms of pure entertainment, I really enjoy it. There are issues with the writing and story, but it almost adds to the charm. Now after rewatching it, I will say the only negative things about this movie is that I feel like it needs to be longer. Like we should have gotten way more interactions between Venom and Carnage instead of just the one fight. I mean, the fight was awesome and it was a decent length, but it would have been much better to have Venom and Carnage have a few more smaller interactions before the final battle. And I feel like there are several places in the movie that should have had more time given to them. Like when Eddie and Venom go their separate ways, that section should have been a little bit longer. I feel like a little bit more time should have been given to Cletus Cassidy and Shriek. And even though Carnage is in the movie for a decent amount, we don't really learn much about him or how the offspring of symbiotes really work, which is something I wish they would have explored more. The movie is a little over an hour and a half long, and I feel like they easily could have added in about 10 to 15 more minutes of footage to at least have at least one more interaction between Venom and Carnage, and to learn more about Carnage himself. But overall, it's still a very fun movie. I love the dumb and silly nature of it, and how it doesn't take itself too seriously. It takes the absurdity and the entertaining parts of the first one and just cranks it up to 11.
You goofs come out with your hands up!
Okay, we're at the final 3, and the next entry is ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now when this first released, I was very impressed. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. For starters, the fight and action scenes were a big step up from the previous MCU movies, with some very well choreographed fights, and I really liked the soundtrack. Marvel worked with the studio 88 Rising, who mainly signed Asian and Asian American artists, and with their help they were able to create a different sound and feel for the movie. Not to mention, I appreciate that visually it tried to mix things up with its color palette. And sure, the MCU gray color grading is there in some scenes, but in others it visually looks really good. Also, I loved Wenwu. Easily one of the best MCU villains. And I love his relationship with ShangChi. Although upon rewatching it, I will say there are some things that annoy me more than they did before. Mainly the humor. Overall, I think it's okay, and there are several times where they do pull back on it and let the moment just play out, but it's still that MCU quippy humor we're familiar with. What's really more annoying is that Trevor is in the second half, and that's where he becomes a comic relief character, and I just find him more annoying than funny. Also, I find the final battle and climax to be kind of jarring, because it went from a very personal battle between a father and son to a giant dragon fight. It was pretty cool, but it felt like they wanted to raise the stakes even higher, when I think a smaller personal battle between ShangChi and his father would have had more impact. But despite that, I still really like this one, and I was excited from the moment I saw the teaser trailer, and it didn't disappoint. Side note, remember when people were making those hilarious videos saying this movie will flop, only for that not to happen?
And it got me to thinking, is this movie going to be Marvel's first actual flop?
Are you retarded?
So the last two left are Zack Snyder's Justice League and Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I'm gonna cheat here and not rank one above the other, because honestly, it's pretty hard to choose. But also, these movies are not only great, but they were massive events celebrated and enjoyed by the fans. For the Snyder Cut, it was finally being able to see Zack Snyder's vision for the Justice League, after years of fans campaigning for it, and continuously coming up with more stunts and ways to get the attention of Warner Brothers. And for Spider-Man, it was a celebration of the character's cinematic legacy, and was also the end of Tom Holland's origin movies that sets him up perfectly for future projects. Both of these movies just felt like very big events, and I really enjoyed both of them. If you like No Way Home more, that's fine. If you like the Snyder Cut more, that's fine as well. I really don't think you can go wrong with either. I'm just happy that both of these movies exist, because they're things that we never thought we would actually see on the big screen. They've both made a big impact in their own right. That's gonna do it for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, go and drop a like on it. And leave a comment, let me know what you think is the best comic book movie of the year. And with the Batman coming out in a few months, as well as Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness not long after, I think that 2022 will be even bigger.
You just call me boy? Bigger. Bigger. I said bigger, man. You know what? You have the right to remain stupid, boy.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
The Lord is my shepherd. He know what I want. Right?